First of all, to all of us who would be joining us here on this amazing day of World Environment Day. Um, this is of course a day when we look up to celebrate one of those days that we say that, hey, listen, I care for the environment that I stay in. But this day doesn't just limits us to be celebrating environment just on this day. But in the same cue, we are excited to share that on this podcast series of Youth Ki Baat by Youth of India Foundation. We are so glad to have Dr. Anish Andheria ji. While you would have seen the lovely background and the picture that is taken by him at 2 decades year old, and you would get into more discussions. How did he get into it? What inspired him to take that picture? But what is interesting to understand to all our viewers, to all the young people who are joining us from across the country and around the globe, that Dr. Anish is the president of the Wildlife Conservation Trust, which currently works in around 160 plus national parks and wildlife sanctuaries spread across 27 states and union territories of India. And he also has been an independent director of Wildlife Conservation Society India, have been a member of the advisory board for BNP Paribas India Foundation and part of the organizing committee for the Indian Climate Collaborative. His expertise goes more beyond this accolades that he has, while he's also served in the state boards of governments of Maharashtra, Jammu and Kashmir, Madhya Pradesh, and so many more. While, of course, India is moving fast in preservation and conservation of tiger, and he has also been a member of the National Tiger Conservation Authority. We would learn directly from Anish how passionate is he about tigers and how has India actually progressed towards tigers, and how does he fear, if he actually fears tiger, and how does he sees that. I think what is interesting to understand, my friends, from Dr. Anish is, apart from being a wildlife photographer, apart from being a wildlife conservationist who has also been talking about it across the world, very interestingly, he brought out this Kids for Tigers, something that interests me while I was reading about him. How can young kids know about tigers? So I think more than this, let's get into knowing Dr. Anish here on this very special day of World Environment Day, where the world is now celebrating the beat plastic pollution, and the silent killers happens to be the wildlife. So let's hear more from Anish. Anish, over to you, please.
Thank you, Sailesh. It's a pleasure to be here. And let's hope that we can have a very interesting conversation on various aspects of nature, wildlife, and obviously, I hope there are some interesting questions that come my way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anish. Tanishi, the director for Youth Ki Baat, has brilliantly reached out to universities, colleges, through social media platforms in finding out the right app, not the right ones to say, but the app questions that could really instigate thought processes while we engage on this interesting day. Dr. Anish, over to you to understand going back to what we started discussing, what actually inspired you and how did you actually start your journey?
So actually, my journey is not very exciting as such in terms of how this came about, because I don't remember a phase in my life when I was not aware of my interest in nature. So I've always been, as a child, also interested in nature, and that child within me is still alive. And when I'm in nature, I'm exactly how I was when I was about 10 years old, because I feel like a child kid in a candy store and looking at all these magnificent organisms around us, not just mammals, but birds, insects, reptiles, amphibians, trees. I get enamored by them. So I think my interest in nature was always there, and I had a family that obviously was a little perturbed to find someone who was going after, birds, looking at and asking those very difficult questions as to why does a dog have a tail? Why does a crow look black? Those kind of questions as a child. So while my friends were all, busy playing cricket, which I love cricket, and being in India, it's not very surprising that most of us grow into that sport. But I remember that I would not wait after the cricket was over. My friends would hang around in Nukkad Pe, and I would rush back because I would have some animal or the other at home, which I would have rescued, and I never kept them as pets. Or something that I rescue, and then I have to feed that animal, or if it's a nocturnal animal, then I have to feed that animal in the night. So from very early, even when I was in school, I was in eighth standard when I rescued the first snake of my life. And after that, I started rescuing various species at that point. And this is, when I'm talking of eighth standard, we are looking at early 1980s. And there was no mobile phone. Even landlines were rare at that point in time. So I would still word of mouth spread because people back then didn't get exposed to nature like we do now. Obviously, there was a lot more nature then, but people were not exposed to it in their drawing rooms through television. And so if the word spread very easily that there is a crazy guy living here, and so if there is any animal that is injured, do get to him, but take only wild animals, don't take pets to him. And so I would get calls for any wild animal, from pigeons to bats to owls to snakes. I've even rescued jackals, crocodiles, and big pythons, squirrels, scorpions. I mean, you name it, because although I started rescuing snakes, but people never, had that difference in their head. Any wild animal, you call him. And so that way, my love for nature was further cemented because I interacted with animals very early in my life. And when you interact with species that you can't understand, as in you can't talk to them, um, they are also scared because they don't know that you're actually wanting to protect them. They still look at us as something which is dangerous to them. They are very timid. They don't like to be exposed or touched. And so you slowly start understanding their body language. And I think that is when those seeds were sown, when my transformation was happening. And I was pretty much, although I was not conscious of the fact, but later on, when I finished my PhD from Institute of Chemical Technology, that is ICT, um, I pretty much at that point in time, I had a job waiting for me. I could have done a postdoc in the US, and there were several doors open. But by then, this is in the year 2000. So by then, I already knew that that I don't want to pursue my passion for nature as a hobby, and I want to do active conservation stuff because that was giving me happiness. So I had all the degrees to take a typical corporate job and do well at it, but I said that money and satisfaction, they are not the same. If and eventually now I know that it was a smart choice, great choice, because if you have passion and if you do well in something, then money eventually comes. And how much money do you need? You don't really. So people really worry about their profession and what they want to do because they have aspirations which are materialistic, where they want a big house, they want multiple cars, they want an SUV, they want to move around the world and all that. My aspirations were simple at that point. Even now, they're not very complex. And so there is enough and more for passionate people. And so I'm very happy that despite having several options, so it's not like I was interested in nature and I'd never studied. So fortunately, I was not bad at studies, and I managed in college and eventually did a PhD from Institute of Chemical Technology. But I really knew at that point that I need to follow my heart, and if I want to give 100%, otherwise I would be a fish outside water. And here I am. It's almost 25 years since that decision was taken, and when I look back, I don't regret any of those micro decisions that I took since I would say 1980s.
Since the first snake you rescued.
From that day I rescued that snake and then walked, trekked Western Ghats from Bombay. It's not very far. And I would go on a Friday night, stay on the railway station early morning, take an ST to the foothills of a mountain, and then climb that mountain, return on a Monday. And that I did continuously for several years, I used to go to the Sanjay Gandhi National Park just to observe wildlife, initially in a group, and then I started going alone. It was not very far. It took me about half an hour from my home. Had to change a train and a bus and then go there. And it was pretty much every alternate day. In certain seasons, I would be in the park every alternate day, to observe wildlife late in the evening, and then come out before it got dark. And so while I was studying in a formal college, I was also getting educated in a very informal, natural way, just going there, using my nose, ears, eyes, and touch. And then once I come out of a jungle, and I would have made some notes, some mental notes, some notes on paper, and then go to the library of BNHS, Bombay Natural History Society, has a head office in Bombay, just on the same building as the museum, Prince of Wales Museum. And I used to go there on a Saturday to look at what I had seen, because there were no field guides at that point in time. And I would look at things. And so when you don't have like a phone at that point to tell you what you're seeing, now you have apps where you can just take a photo and the photo actually recognizes what you're seeing, or at least is very close to what you have seen in the past. And we didn't have too many field guides. I didn't have access to the ones that were there already. And so I used to spend a lot of time in the library. So field, coming back and identifying what I was seeing. And obviously it's not easy to find things. There was no Google at that point. So you had to look through so much. And while looking through so much, you would read so much more about so many other things. So that's a slow and very enjoyable way of building knowledge. And I'm still learning. And I think I will, till the last day of my life, I will still be learning, because nature, there are so many secrets, and you unravel something, and then you realize that so many other doors open for you, and then you go in. So it's been beautiful. And I think a lot of people who follow their passion will have the same thing to say about whatever they're doing. It could be a singer, could be a poet, could be anybody. Somebody who wants to go to the military and join the forces. If you tell them, they don't worry about their lives. They just want to do something for nature, for the country. And I always want to do something for give back. I always say that um, very fortunate are those who have the opportunity to pay the rent of living on this planet. We are taking oxygen, water, we're taking it for granted. Not many of us get the opportunity to pay back. And so I'm glad that I'm one of those fortunate people who is able to, at least pay the rent of living on this planet.
I think, Dr. Anish, what you have really brought in is a fresh air of passion, and even after giving 2.5 decades to what you have been doing completely, every energy of you sounds passionate about what you do, and the reflections are absolutely so deep that it goes to understanding that the way you're satisfied with every decisions, and there is absolutely guilt-free decisions that you have had, and that can only come when the need is as much as it is required and doesn't go towards the greed. And what you really brought in about the passion, I think, that I was just trying to soak in, as you would soak in the nature while you're in the jungle, uh, that the enjoying of the slow process, it is absolutely not easy with the kind of the speed that this world is now heading towards. But to enjoy that process altogether, and to be here and to say that, hey, listen, it is a process and you have enjoyed it and you're happy about it. I think this goes a long message to all the viewers who would be watching us today, and of course to all of us at the foundation as well, because that is the spirit that we also started with. And in that spirit of 10 years, the way you are sharing your passion, that is the same passion that Tanishi may have here, I may have, or all of us across the country, around the globe have it. And we are so glad to have you here. So once again, welcome to Youth Ki Baat, Dr. Anish. Thank you. Dr. Anish, you have something to add?
No.
Okay. Dr. Anish, moving forward, uh, we do realize that while you were in class 8, mhm, and you wanted to save a snake, did you not have fear in your heart? And how did you manage that over the years in your life as well?
So it's an interesting one, I think fear, and now I'm trying to interpret because I get asked these questions wherever I go. Because eventually I have lived my life conserving large carnivores, tigers,
Yeah.
leopards. We've also
Wow.
supported a lot of work on lions, uh,
Mhm.
and I feel fear comes from lack of knowledge. Fear is a condition. Sometimes you are born in a family where everybody is scared of even a lizard, or somebody is scared of anything that comes in. The doors are closed, windows are shut, always they think something will come. So if you are born into something as a child, you are going to imbibe those from, and it happens subconsciously. Nobody is hating nature. It's just because they have somebody has told them, something has
Conditions.
passed on from generations, and it stayed there. Okay. Or it could be a bad incident that you saw, or today on television you see a lot of these attacks happening where somebody is being bitten or taken by a tiger or by a crocodile, by a snake, all those things. So that reinforces your fear. But if and back then obviously there was none of these reels and none of these memes floating around. In my family nobody was in love with all these dangerous animals. But when I got involved and when I started bringing snakes to my home, my dad was never very comfortable. He would say, he'll stay, okay, okay, you got it, be careful. And he would stay at arm's length. But my mom, who used to actually fight with me a lot, saying that, what are you doing? You're taking a lot of risk, etc., etc. But she was the one who would actually even hold a non-venomous snake in her hand, or any animal that I brought. She would actually, I would be outside and I would tell her that I may not be returning. So there is this feeding time. At that point in time, you'll have to feed, and that she has done that on her own. But she used to be very worried that I may get derailed. According to her, because I was not bad at studies, she thought that I should pursue my higher education and get degrees, and then and use my passion should be the hobby there. And then when she saw me getting involved, she used to be irritated, but she was always keen on uh, helping me out with that. So I think fear I've never experienced till date, and there are several instances where I've come face to face with potentially dangerous animals on foot or in water. I have swam through rivers and emerged from it, and then within a couple of minutes, a crocodile has surfaced, and I knew that water there could be crocodiles. I have diving in many oceans, and obviously with and have come face to face with sharks that unfortunately have or wrongly been given you know like a stamped as one of the most dangerous animals. But I don't feel that way, because I, somewhere subconsciously, or I think there is, once you love something and you are also not impulsive, you generally don't get into trouble. And you will know, uh, or you will be better off at understanding the body language of an animal. And so, more often than not, when you are face to face with, say, a large mammal like an elephant, most people would panic because they don't know what will happen. First of all, I'll be in awe of that animal, just looking at that animal in front of you. And so that, and then to say that I am an outsider, that animal is in the jungle, I have gone in, and so
Mhm.
he has the right of the way. And so I need to be humble. I need to understand what he's doing and react accordingly, rather than scaring that animal by doing something which is alarming for the species. So over the years, when you get exposed and you have come out of it without a skirmish, you start feeling good about yourself, and you know that something about your body language is not scaring or exciting the animals to get close and personal with you. And so I always feel that now also one more thing is that most people who say I love something, they want to touch.
Mm-hmm.
I love tigers. I want to pat tigers. I want to hold
Right.
the cub of a tiger in my hand. Now that is, it's not a kitten. It's not a cat. You have to understand wild animals. So
Right.
that love for wild animals doesn't mean you have to touch. And I'm not possessive, and that also helps me. So when I see an animal, I feel extremely satisfied just to see the animal in its natural environment doing what that species must be doing for millions of years before we entered this planet. Human beings evolved this on this planet very recently. All these animals have outlived us. Anyways, so
Right.
uh,
You're telling some. Please go ahead.
no, so I was saying you talking about fear, no? So I was saying
Okay.
that it's a reinforcing
The
thing.
patting.
So no, so all people do all these things and then something goes wrong and that becomes viral, and then most people will start blaming the animal. Mostly, I would say with nature, so when you don't understand nature, when you don't understand animal behavior,
Right.
and you feel, even a deer can kill you, right? So many things there are around, even in the ocean. So many things are venomous. You can step on a stonefish, but
Correct.
why should a human being even go and walk on the floor or the reef? But we go down, and therefore
Right.
then we go down and we touch, we step on something, and you get injured, and eventually what comes out in media is that somebody was attacked by an animal. But actually, once you understand, you realize that humans, because of their superiority complex, where they feel that the planet belongs to them and animals are, you know there is no priority given to them. They do what they want to do, and in the process, they either startle an animal or they scare them. And animals, when they get scared and when they think that they are cornered, then they will attack. Even a rat will attack a cat if the rat is in the corner of a and the cat goes to pounce on him. So one has to understand. And so I think fear, I it's not like I'm fearless, but I don't get scared,
Startled.
or I don't get startled, or I don't get scared, or I don't feel fearful when I am in nature, because I go on my own. So I know that I am the one who's crossing the line, and that it's better eventually. You can, I think walking on the road, crossing a road in Bombay or Delhi, or any highway, or driving on a highway is more dangerous than walking through the forest. Let me put it that way. So there is no reason to be fearful. And this I'm saying for everybody. It's not because I love nature, but if it was,
Correct.
if animals were so dangerous, if the forests and the seas were so dangerous, I wouldn't have survived. I wouldn't be around.
Correct.
I've
Yeah.
been in this 25 years where I have been professionally doing something, but I have been walking in the forest since the early 1980s. Okay. And even then, I was not even equipped with so much knowledge. So I was
That
following
time the safety equipments would have been less. So
safety equipment was less, yet I was never impulsive. That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to prove anything to anybody. So if my instinct said that no, this is not an smart move to do, let me go this way. So I think the most important thing is to not behave like a macho, and that you should understand that you are insignificant compared to nature,
the nature.
and you are just like any other species, like an ant, a mosquito, a tiger, an elephant, a species of tree, or a grass species. They all have the same status in my head, and that I think keeps me grounded and therefore safe.
Dr. Anish, when you're bringing out a lot of these aspects, one thing that was coming out very evidently, it is that the mountains have survived here for thousands and thousands of years old. They don't need us to be telling or doing what we have to do. And I think this very World Environment Day, a very famous activist by the name Lewis Pugh was also mentioning something like this, that we live here because of the environment. We don't live in the environment, right? So we have to be grateful. And what you brought out in the last part, that the rent, we are privileged and blessed to be able to pay back for something that we're getting at large numbers. And I think there cannot be ever, to be able to pay back to what environment is giving to us. Mhm. And what we are going to take away from here, from this, is that you don't have to prove anything to anyone, and you don't have to be impulsive. Relax. I think that is the mantra that you're giving to us, Dr. Anish. But Dr. Anish, while we, as we move forward, and something that was coming in my mind, you have been an active and an ardent activist, realizing the love, the intrinsities of nature, the music that it plays, and you have played well on those music. Has there been any point of time in your life which made to fall in love with specific animals, or has there been any um, you know unforgettable memory that you cherish even now?
I can speak for 50 days and I can keep counting. So truly, it's like so many. I fall in absolute, I'm spellbound by so many things. And that need not be a large thing. It need not be a tiny thing. It could just be the way the leaves are falling because of the breeze just before monsoon, or just the way the water is sounding when a stream, a first order stream up there in the mountains, and how it starts from a rivulet and how it turns into a raging river by the time it comes on the in the plains. So there are so many such things. Yeah, but I think to answer it, because it's a question and I need to answer that. The two species that I am absolutely in awe with, and that is only in the relative term, because I'm in awe with anything that is alive, everything that is alive actually. One is the octopus that whenever I see an octopus on a dive, and the way the octopus um, changes its form. It's not, people talk of octopus merging with the background. It's not just the color, like a chameleon will change the color, the pattern on the body to merge with the background. The octopus not only changes the pattern on the body, but it also changes the texture and the form of the body to mimic the background. So it does multiple things. And imagine to see, so you have, they have an eye, two eyes looking at something, and automatically within no time the body is taking that shape. Imagine if you were asked to do something like that. It's almost impossible for you to do. Okay, the intelligence with which it goes, the way it interacts with you, it can even come to you, but even if it doesn't come to you, you know that you can't tell the same thing about a fish when a tiny fish is swimming around you, and that's also interacting, but probably we don't have the capacity to understand how it is interacting with the octopus. Somehow I feel that, it's so, for the lack of words, so intelligent, definitely, but it's like a marvel of nature, and um, I'm just absolutely, and I will sometimes be at 20-25 meters, and if there's an octopus and I have to constantly look at my dive computer, because I may uh, overspend my time there, and then I may not have enough air left to take a safety stop. So I always have to pinch myself when I'm in front of an octopus. On land, I think elephants are, there are so many species, but elephants have always, absolutely um, enamored me by the way they interact with each other. So huge, so powerful, yet um, it doesn't want to prove that it is more powerful than everything else. If it wants, an elephant can actually break a tree just for a small fruit, a 2-inch berry. up on the or a fruit on top of a tree at 30 feet, and the elephant wants to eat it, it will get the tree down, right? But you have seldom seen or you heard that an elephant has actually killed people in the forest, or the tourist vehicles have been charged. Wherever that has happened, it's because people have, or the vehicles have gone in between a herd, and the mother and the calf, or some part of the family is on one side, and the on the other side you have another part, and they get jittery about it, and they are just trying to scare you away. Plus the kind of sounds that they make, so much we can't even hear. Their infrasound can travel miles, and they communicate about water, they communicate about food to herds which are miles away. And that too in not in a desert like situation, even in a forest. Suddenly during dry season, an elephant finds water, subsurface water, it digs, and within an hour or two there'll be like 50 elephants there, and there is no sound that you are hearing because it's sending infrasound out. And it's just amazing how, again, gentle is a very anthropogenic word which we use for human beings. So people call them gentle giants and all, but I mean, as humans you think of them as gentle, but let's not use those adjectives. They just absolutely in sync with nature. Without elephants, the grassland ecosystem, the forest ecosystem will not be in the way it is, because they are actually the gardeners of so many of these ecosystems, and they actually open up dense forest. So in a rainforest or in a dense forest, elephant will break a tree, and that tree will create a gap, and from that, in that gap, sunlight will come in, and there will be germination of seeds out there, and species will the forest will rejuvenate that way. So it's amazing. I mean, I can talk and can write books on species like that. So yeah, I mean, I fall in love over and over again with so many species, really.
As you were speaking, Anish, it just feels like that you are there. And to me as well, it feels like the transportation or the telepathy that's happening. And maybe as Mowgli, or maybe as all that we have seen on the jungle, it just feels like, hey, listen, the leaves are falling now, the rustling of the leaves, and the subtle wind, and you could hear as you're talking, as the elephants passing by. So I think, of course, you would be an amazing storyteller, but your storytelling also comes from the experiences that you have shared, the life you have lived. Just moving forward, and we had it quite later, and while you talked about it, the gardener of the jungle. Just a quick rapid fire, if you could have, right? Uh, the watchman of the jungle.
Watchman of the jungle. Well, I would call the drongo.
Okay.
It's a bird,
The
the bird that
Yes.
is actually the policeman. So if it is nesting on a tree, it will not allow any predator to come close by. So a lot of other birds will build their nest in the same tree, because they have no way of defending themselves from another predator. But drongos are tiny compared to a lot of eagles and hawks and falcons, but they can actually go and chase them away.
Okay. Now that you've already said the police of the jungle, uh, do you feel that there is any judge of the jungle?
Yeah, I think every species is a judge of the jungle, and they have a role to play. We don't understand, and they know, in a way, that a certain species will not be able to survive without another species, right? There is so many associations there. So I would say any species. I would say the banyan tree.
Amazing. Um, if you hear these two words, what does it come to your mind first? Okay, Ranthambore,
Tigers.
uh, the sunsets.
Um, Promise of tomorrow.
This is absolutely amazing. In just moving to this promise of tomorrow, would you like to share a quick on this very special day of the environment, about the manda tai, Manda Tai, and about her activity, so a lot of our audience realize what she is doing, and why are you encouraging and supporting her?
First of all, I don't think I'm supporting her or encouraging her. She's just one of my colleagues, and she is actually a very, very important member of that resilient future, that vertical, that works in villages to reduce negative interactions between large carnivores like tigers and leopards and uh, villagers. So she's working in a place to the east of Tadoba Tiger Reserve. And Tadoba, Greater Tadoba landscape, which is Tadoba Tiger Reserve, the Brahmapuri region, and the Kanargaon area, the corridors there, the entire region may easily support about 200 plus tigers, 220, 25 tigers. And many of these tigers live outside protected areas, which means they're living alongside people. And so there is huge amount of interaction between people and large carnivores. As a result, there is stress. People have been attacked by tigers, leopards, sloth bears, uh, and people have got angry with wild animals because of that, and they have electrocuted deer, gaur, uh, nilgai, tigers, leopards. So there are losses on both sides, and there is obviously anger on side of the humans. Wild animals don't get angry that way with the human race as such. We get angry and then we want to go after a certain species. However, it's a unique place. People are so tolerant there, anyways. Okay, and that's why we, and therefore our organization, Wildlife Conservation Trust, really feels for those communities, because in India there are so many amazing forests, but communities don't really have this kind of relationship with nature. So you see, wildlife has done well in the country only in those areas where people are tolerant, or people respect nature, or think of wildlife as part of their system. Okay, they don't think of wildlife as something outside of them. So that particular area is where people are very tolerant, but yet people die every year because they go to the forest to collect firewood. They go to forest to collect minor forest produce, and as a result, they come face to face with carnivores. And once in a while, they also go to graze cattle pretty much every day, and they come in face to face. So once in a while, a skirmish happens, and obviously between tiger and a human has no chance. And so WCT is trying to see how we can find alternatives to fuel wood. Fuel wood is wood that they collect from and there are 604 villages in the Brahmapuri division. Okay, and there are 55 to 60 tigers there. Yeah, so you have so many large number of carnivores, tigers and leopards, and you have so many people going into the forest to collect fuel wood. So we found that if we work on providing alternatives to fuel wood or firewood, we may be able to reduce the interaction between people. There would be no reason for a lot of people to go to the jungle. And if they don't go to the jungle, the attacks will go down. And so that is the project where Manda Tai is working. She's working with other people working under Kishore, who is then Manda Tai and Kishore. Both Manda and Kishore live right in that area. So they are locals from that area. So they really feel passionate um, about doing something for their own community. So that is their motivation to give back to the community. And she feels very proud of being able to do that. And being from that area, people accept her much more easily. So if somebody from a city goes and talks to communities, and you go in a swanky vehicle and with an umbrella in your hand and glasses, and then you talk to somebody, they'll say, "Arey, gaon शहर से आके हमको मत सिखाओ." So we have a team that is local, and so they are actually the frontliners, and they go in, they interact with people, they show them what the water heater is. So we come up with what is called the water heater, which is very efficient in terms of burning. It doesn't need wood to heat water. You can use agriculture waste, which anyways, there is a lot of agriculture waste that's generated there. And they can also use leaves, paper, etc. to heat water. The capacity is about 30 liters, and in 15 minutes they can really heat the water for the entire family. They don't need to burn logs, and so the actual visitation to the jungles have gone down. So this is what Manda does, and so this podcast that you probably are talking about is on her, but she is working in a team of almost 14, 15 people.
Amazing.
Some of those are economists, social psychologists, developmental scientists, and then there are people who, even the drivers in that team, help them out uh, in many ways. So they just don't drive the vehicle, but obviously they drive the vehicle, and then they, in the village when they go, they help in taking names of people, registering them. So that team is very, very multifaceted, and Manda is one of those. So yeah, it's amazing. And so
I think a big round of applause goes to WCT and to the person who is driving it. So of course you are humble about it, and I think what is interesting is that while the team of course does it, it is who you also brought that vision out. So congratulations
no,
once again.
that's true, but I'm not trying to be humble. The fact is, vision is something a very corporate world. When you say vision, no, then you have, it's like lakir, then everybody walks. So also
Yeah.
I had a vision, and my vision is not micro, it's macro, which is that we need to do something for nature. Okay.
Mhm.
But when you start hiring people, then your vision should start accommodating their visions. So WCT vision is a amalgamation of micro visions of
Visions.
macro visions of so many people, but they are all in the same direction. And so I would say that, yeah, in the corporate world, we talk of vision, we say we want to reach 1 billion profit, or XYZ in 10 years, we should go there. We don't have those kind of visions. What we have is that we need to make this planet a better place to live for unborn generation. We have already damaged it, but when we go away, we should give this planet to the next generation in a condition which is, if not better, at least at the same condition. And for that, you can't just sit and think about it. You have to act. And once you put that vision out, and a lot of people then want to subscribe to that vision, and that is how an organization in a social sector gets built. So it's nobody's vision, it's everybody's vision. It's actually vision of everybody, even yours. You also want a green planet. You also want a planet where there is no pollution. You also don't want a planet that is getting damaged because of plastics, right? So say you start working with WCT and you say, I want to do this, and I'll see if that vision is in the same direction. Then I'll say, okay, this, you run your project, and I'll raise the funds. So that's how projects are run really at WCT.
Fantastic. This is amazing, Anish. And I think this is exactly how we come in as well. And some of those three E's that we talk about: engage, empower, and evolve. Young people can come in with their ideas. We may want to talk about animal rights. Some may want to talk about human rights. Some may want to talk about XYZ. But it is towards the common cause, towards a better planet, towards one cause of living in a planet that future generations can survive. And I
Yeah.
think this, Anish, really brings into the fact that youth-led institution like ours, while even initiatives like Tatwa, wherein we try to collect in the waste from these jungles or to the waste from the animals, and then make some merchandise, provide livelihood to women from those communities. So as you said, while more and more livelihood goes into those areas, they would feel empowered and want to move forward. And I think this is one of those initiatives through Tatwa that our foundation also does. But this is interesting to hear from you, Anish, not to take much of your time, to largely understand while you talking about the social organization and the social development sector. Anish, what is it after you for WCT? How do you see this moving forward?
Oh, as I said, this is not a one-man army anyways. We have some fantastic scientists, we have fantastic economists, There are people on the ground who are from local communities. So we have sown the right seeds. Everybody knows what they are doing. Nobody steps on other people's toes. There are senior members who are always willing to build capacity in the juniors. They are fiercely territorial, uh, or rather, I would say, protective about their teams. And we really, everybody who joins is always asked, what else can you do? Because see, how much can I pay a driver? At the end of the day, I have to keep it in line with what others are earning, right? So how do you, and then this is how we think that if the driver is there, he will need to drive the vehicle for XYZ number of times. Then he'll be waiting in the vehicle till the team comes back. There's so much time with that driver there. What will he do? He'll probably sit on the phone, look at his reels, or there is no signal there, then he'll be bored to death. So what we do is we always try and find out if there is somebody who is interested. So even a cook, and wherever we have field offices, if there are people who live there, then we always have a cook. And those cooks have also become great field assistants. So cooking in the morning, and then saying, okay, I will go on in the field, and in the field they wear the hat of a researcher or assistant. So I think I'm not worried about the succession of WCT. Like my chairman, Sri Hemendra Kothari, and he started this, his daughter Aditi, and even the Piramals initially in 2002 when WCT was registered. I was not part of it at that point. Obviously, I knew that they were registering it. I knew them then. I joined in 2009, and that's when the office setup was put in place. So I was the first employee, and then slowly we hired people. Now we are 101 people and 3 dogs, conservation dogs. So he told me when we had those first interactions, formal interactions, I knew him before that, that talk less, do more, keep fingers on the pulse of the finances of the organization. Every penny should be tracked. And he had initially funded it for 10 years. So he said, I will fund it with my own money. Okay. And then he said that think of this, and I will be gone, he said, but I want this organization to go on. I don't want to start anything which perishes with me. Okay. And so he brought me in so that I could do that. And obviously, I feel that there is so much potential. There's so much effort that has gone in through people who have worked with us at varying periods of time. There are some people who have worked with us for more than 10, 12 years. There are people who have worked for many years and that they are no longer with us, but they have also put in effort. So what we are today is a combination of efforts put in by people who are with us currently, who have supported us. So our chairman supported us. Now there are so many corporates who are funding us. There are philanthropists who are funding us because they believe in what we do. There are associates. So there are so many institutes like universities that we partner with, and we imbibe a lot of science that they are doing, and they're consultants. So all I'm saying is that it's not me. It's now such a large ecosystem that no one human being can destroy it. So the inspiration is nature, and that's how nature functions. Obviously, in nature also, you remove one species and it will have an impact. But the more diverse your nature is, the more robust it will be to stresses. So if it was a monoculture organization where everybody thinks in one direction, then it may not last. But because it is not like a monoculture, it's a heterogeneous organization with so many neurons, not just one brain, but multiple neurons. Any neuron who drops out will have an impact, but the organization
for a short
will
time.
survive. Yeah.
This is fantastic, Anish. I think this is one of those learnings that we would love to come back to you again and again to realize that after us, who next and how. And this is something that we would love to learn as a youth-led institution and embody in ourselves to realize how can that happen. Because in next 3 years, and I keep sharing this, in next 3 to 5 years, if I want to exit, and would this organization go on? If yes, how would it go on? And I think people like you, institution like yours, uh, give us that idea that this can happen, this is possible, and we would love to keep coming back to you to learn more about this. Dr. Anish, just one final thought, and or maybe one final question. How do you see that your work on Kids for Tigers has been an instrumental work, and do you see that it should be amplified more, or do you think it has already met its success?
Oh, education, as I said, I'm still a child, which means I've crossed 50 and I'm still a child. So education needs to go on. The way education is delivered can change based on how the younger generation is. You cannot force the younger generation to accept modes of education that you want for them. So you have to learn from them and provide education in a way they find interesting. So Kids for Tigers again was a brainchild of 4 people, not just one. Bittu Saigal, who is the founder and editor of Sanctuary Asia,
Right.
his daughter Miel Saigal, Noel Disa, who was a Christian brother working in a school in Abu. He took sabbatical and came here, and I had joined then. So 4 of us who independently were also obviously from time to time thinking about how important it is to talk to children when they are still fresh, where they are still not biased, when they are still pure, like they want to be told about finances, told how to take care of the environment through books, or how to keep safe in an environment, right? Similarly, you need to understand that this planet is not functioning because human beings are inventing new technologies. The most efficient technology is what the planet has already given us while we were evolving. So all those things, and how a tiger in the jungle and a person living in the financial capital of India, like Bombay or Delhi or anywhere, how does a tiger impact a human being? Okay, even when you don't see a tiger, what is the connection between the tiger, the habitat where it lives, the river systems that emerge from those habitats, and the survival of human beings? So Kids for Tigers was about that. Okay, and so there is definitely need for something like this, and there will always be need for education systems. I don't think you can ever overdo education. I just feel that what we did was a great formula. Today, we can use some bits of those formulas, but we'll have to modify it because things have changed. People have access. Back then, we used to go and show them slides on a projectors, and we used to go to different big cities, small towns, villages around tiger reserves. So we used to go to 250,000 children every year. For so many years, the program is still on. It's 25 years and it's still on. And so there is no limit. And so many people who were part of the program as children, in fact, I didn't know one of my colleagues who is now a lawyer and is an economist, and he actually was a Kids for Tigers person who had he was impacted by the Kids for Tigers program when he was in his school, So there are so many people who have gone. They may not, he is directly working with an organization like this, but there are so many people like who are lawyers, could be corporate lawyers, but they are supporting environment, cause of environment by taking some cases on related to environment free of cost. There are painters. There is a cartoonist, Rohan Chakravarti. He's fascinating, and he was a Kids for Tigers ambassador from Nagpur nearly 20 years ago, right? So many such people are there. So we can't estimate how many, but the impact is massive. And And so I feel, yes, we must continue doing these kind of programs in the school before they get contaminated. Children, when they come out, they think so much about money all the time. And yes, money may be important, and there's nothing wrong in it. But
Yeah,
without good environment, without natural ecosystems, we have no hope on this planet. So therefore, I think there is a very clear-cut reason why we should have many more such programs. And now with technology, we could probably reach out to many more.
amplified, absolutely. And Dr. Anish, I was thinking, I mean, of course, on behalf of the foundation, the Youth of India Foundation, we would like to propose a partnership if that could really come in with WCT in the lines of Kids for Tigers in the Northeastern educational institutions. And if there's a possibility to explore how AR and VR technologies could be integrated, where students could maybe walk with the tiger and feel the comfort. If there's something that we may explore, we would be happy to look at those partnerships specifically for the Northeastern region.
Oh, definitely. And Northeast also requires this, and it's amazing place. And I love Northeast. I mean, like, I love the deserts. I like those forests there. But no, but I think WCT, it's still run by Sanctuary Asia. So yeah, definitely I can put you in touch with them, and they will be more than happy to partner with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anish, for this. Would you have any final comments to share on this amazing day?
No, final comment, simple. Try and pay the rent in your own way. You don't have to be a wildlife biologist or a conservationist to pay the rent. You can pay your rent by supporting environment-related activities, by living a life which is more energy efficient, not pollute in doing what you're doing. Only buy what you need. Don't stock too much. And finally, slow down. Don't run. When you go after one, tick mark, you want this deadline. After that, there are these goals, multiple goals today with young people. And there's nothing wrong. But in doing so, you burn out by the time you're 35, 40. And then you will want to say, I want to go up in the mountains and spend some time. I've burnt out. Why? And when you are running like this, it's very difficult to be creative. It's very difficult to, when you slow down, is when you have enough time, when you listen to your own inner self. And so you can take time. You may feel, oh, Anish is so lucky. No, I was fortunate that because I was spending so much time in the jungle, I was alone. I was getting so much time with myself. I was, not living in the world created by humans. And that is why I could understand what I wanted. But most people are not exposed to nature. So they go to nature for a couple of days, and they come back, that I'll recharge and come back. But that, slow down in whatever you do, think, and only do what you are passionate about. Sometimes you have to do things because there is a need for money. Either your family is dependent on you, or you have certain, responsibilities. You can postpone what you want to do as a human being, but never lose sight of that. And so therefore, I think two things. One is pay the rent, and B is slow down. Don't go as fast as the technology wants you. Technology is for you. It should not be allowed to control your life.
This is so good. I think the summary of this entire conversation goes in: pay your rent and slow down. And with this, Dr. Anish, thank you so much for being here on the World Environment Day. To all our viewers who would have heard to this amazing man who has spent 2.5 decades only being with the wildlife, only being in the jungles, the man who really understands that it is about slowing down and it is about paying your rent. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Anish.
Pleasure is mine, Sailesh, and all the best to Youth Ki Baat. It was good, and I hope you can push it on social media so that more people can listen to what we have spoken. All the best, and may you have many more such conversations with. There are so many amazing people there, so many young people, half my age, who are doing some amazing things. So also call some young people.
I think all the credit goes to people of your age, if I may say, Anish, because it is you who have paid those paths. Of course, it's easier for us, and we are glad that we have experienced people like you who can guide young people like us. I was with the Prime Minister of Australia, Dr. Anish, and he asked me, hey, listen, why do you always blame us? And I said, I don't blame you. You have paved the path. We are raw youth. Why don't you share your experience so that we can learn and add value to whatever you may have thought? And we are glad that you're here, Anish. And genuinely, I mean it. I think individuals like you at that time when you didn't even have the cell phone where I can just type and get everything, you put it your energy in and out in that process of actually getting grinded to be what you are here today. So absolute grateful to you and to all you, the challenges, the disappointments that you may have gone through to be here today with this lovely smile. So thank you.
All the best.